Introduce yourself, Paul.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Duncan. I'm the production designer on Kung Fu Panda 4.
Hi, this is Calvin Sang. I'm the head of story of Kung Fu Panda 4.
Hi, I'm Sean Sexton, and I'm the head of character animation on Kung Fu Panda 4.
Hi, I'm Mike Mitchell. I'm intern on Kung Fu Panda 4. Production intern.
No, he's actually the director.
I'm current director.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Ma Stine. I am the co-director of Kung Fu Panda 4.
And we just visited all the previous DreamWorks films right there.
We did. And interestingly, that's the only thing I animated in this film.
Is that right?
The Moon Kid.
What?
That's pathetic, Sean.
This is an interesting scene because it's one of our oneers in the film. One of the longest scenes,
one big long
uncut, really long shot, very difficult to animate. But it turned out great. Andrew Harkins actually animated this entire scene pretty much.
It's beautiful. Nice crowd work. We started our crowd work.
Crowds and Cycles did some great stuff in here as well.
It also starts the story of iron ore that I don't think anyone follows at all in this movie, where she took the iron ore and she turns this into cages later on. And then she uses those cages to trap all the master villains from
This
the
is the
past.
chameleon that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Villain.
Spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen the...
There she is. I just gave it away. That's her. Don't tell anyone. Who watches this the first time with the commentary?
This wasn't in the original version of the film, right? We didn't have a cold opening with Tai Lung, did we? Early on?
We did not.
No.
This is great.
We knew we wanted to introduce the film with the villain, but we thought, like, why are we introducing a film with a character that no one knows? And
Right.
it just happened to be like, oh, well, let's introduce with a familiar character from the past.
Right. And for the longest time, we want to hide her power, too. So it's kind of like really hard to introduce a villain and not to show how awesome she is.
Right, Cal, which is interesting because, see, he's all lizardy here, and we really worried about people going, oh, he's a lizard lion or lizard leopard, but no one notices.
We hit it well.
We did.
And Paul helped with his lighting and his little vapors in front of it.
Yeah, you'll see that later on in the movie where there's lots of animals and you realize later on, wow, they've got scales. It's a chameleon. It's like a second read.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure Poe is fine. What if he's sick? What if he's hurt? What if he's hurt?
Comedy duo. These two actors are hilarious together. James Hong plays Mr. Ping,
Yeah, and he was 94 years old when he recorded this.
94.
94.
Loads of energy. And Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad.
So good.
Mike came to us with this crazy idea. Can we have a crazy stingray? And Poe goes and fights in this, basically this village on the sea. And we were looking a lot at villages in Vietnam, like sea gypsies and stuff like that. So that's where the inspiration came for this.
And Paul, thank you for putting a Jaws reference in there.
Yes.
That is one of my
Nice.
favorite films.
Oh, and then he tweaked his
Oh,
nose.
nice.
That's a reference from
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee. This is to be a nerd about it. In Kung Fu Panda 3, they mentioned in the Hall of Heroes, they have Master Dolphin's armor. And it just made me think there's a whole underwater world, which maybe is part 5, where Poe has to go. Actually, I digress. But anyway, so we thought we'd introduce some of their water creatures. And then it brought up another discussion of like, shouldn't that guy be wearing pants?
Yeah.
And like have a voice?
And we purposely made this sequence, when Poe wins, it's almost like he's a hero, and there's almost like a God rays coming down.
Yeah, the light comes out. The sun comes out.
The sun
Paul.
comes out.
It's beautiful.
Poe saved the day.
Here's Paul's rice patties.
Yeah. Interesting note, the rice patties at the start haven't grown yet, but we come back at the end of the movie and it's a full harvest.
Ah, Easter egg.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love you too, adoring fan.
Sign my scroll.
Okay, I'll sign whatever you want.
That is actually Poe in Chinese character.
Yes. Did you design that for us?
Yeah. We're a little...
That's much.
I think Yuxi's mom also showed
Show
us
how
how
to
to write that.
Yeah,
we
we
copied
watched Yuxi's mom. We filmed it,
Yeah.
and watched her do it.
It's a great reference to know the order of strokes
Yeah,
in the calligraphy.
Wisdom given to me by Master Wu.
There's the staff.
and that floating thing in the middle of it that drives me
Got
crazy.
to animate in every shot.
I'm not a fan. I don't know. Is it a magnet? What is that thing?
We don't know.
Magic. It's magic. You're right, Cal.
Warrior noodles and tofu.
I think one of the earlier screening, we have a much bigger sequence, seeing the opening. So we have this wonder, we're showing how, their lives before all these new missions.
Right.
No, they're off on super cool kung fu missions.
This was a great idea. Paul, you came up with a lot of this, right?
This thing drove me crazy because I had to introduce the Furious Five in a way, to make it tell a story, but be interesting. So it just dawned on me one day to use puppets because Poe is still the ultimate fanboy to the Furious Five, and he takes a toy off the kids and actually just goes into their world and plays, and we get a lot of exposition and story out in a really fun and interesting way.
And for Kung Fu Panda 1, that's how we were introduced, I think, to the Furious Five, as Poe had those.
Right.
He had those little toys on his windowsill.
Flashback.
When are we going to get those toys?
I have them all in the trunk of my car, and I'm not sharing with anyone.
Darn.
Loads of them, by the way. I'm keeping them.
First time you finally stepped to the Jade Palace.
This was our very first sequence in animation.
And lighting.
Never make it to the top. Yes, but you persevered.
And by the way, writing, in fact, they were unsure about this idea of passing on the Dragon Warrior. The studio was very concerned. Do you remember this, Stephanie?
Barely. Yes.
And so our writer, as proof of concept, wrote this scene, which is a very dangerous thing to do, and let the studio read it. And they're like, oh, we get it now. Great. Because it really lays it all out. Poe doesn't want to give it up.
You mean I'm not going to be the Dragon Warrior anymore? Exactly.
And that's our big theme, right?
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, you don't lose who you were. You become something more than you already are. But you guys know that.
Of the Valley of Peace. Oh. I don't know what that means. It's just like Master Oogway before you. You will oversee the...
This scene was animated by Antoine Fromage.
Yes, Antoine
aka
Fromage.
Anthony Gray. For a long time, we had only French supervising animators except for Anthony. So
you had to
felt
change his name.
We had to change his name. And he came up with that name. I think fromage is the only French word he knew. So
Fair enough. And he added this gag right here.
did.
Yeah.
It's one of my
This
favorite gags.
hockey puck moment.
So funny.
In fact, your animation team came up with loads of gags in this thing, which is really special. And in fact, you guys also dealt with a lot of layout and you dealt with a lot of story because we're moving so fast that a lot of this moved into your department and then you had to deal with it. And it was very cool, Sean, that you didn't complain about it because and you guys just embraced it and accepted it. And it was really cool.
We loved it. It was so much fun just embracing that chaos and just coming up with ideas and things that weren't in previs and talking to Josh, who was our head of layout, and collaborating and making even more, new shots and dynamic versions of sequences. It was so much fun.
I don't want to seem ungrateful, but I don't know anything about
That beat of Shifu using the chi, we actually had a many discussion within the story team. Like, do we really need to bring it back? Do we actually need to explain it? But it felt like a nice little touch just to like, hey,
That does sort of set up, later in the tavern scene when Poe actually uses chi.
Right.
Like it serves as a good reminder that some of these characters do have that ability.
And it's been set up. They have it.
Yeah. We had an idea that was kind of funny that we didn't end up going with, where Shifu was so annoyed with Poe, he couldn't actually make the tree grow with his chi powers. He was frustrated and it wasn't growing. And then Poe would just like stick the staff over top
And make it grow.
Oh, that's cool.
Now I'm going to repitch it. He should have grown and got so mad that he killed the plant. Like the chi went too far.
It was great.
Next film.
Love this fruit ninja gag.
Yeah, that was great.
This was another sequence that we came up with some fun stuff. This was actually Philippe Lebrun, who was our 2D fight choreographer. We just basically had him jump onto the sequence and come up with really fun ideas, and he came up with that whole pig gag.
Skadoosh.
fantastic pose.
That was Mr. Beast, wasn't it?
Mr. Beast doing the voice of the skadoosh pig.
Wow.
Oh, the screaming goat was our animator.
That was Gonzo Gonzalez.
Gonzo added that. When he presented his animation, he put a goat scream in there, and we're like, yeah, we'll keep that.
So hard, it was great.
That was the hardest I've seen Stephanie laugh.
Yeah.
It was a surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah, we stuck a big light behind here. I think Wayne Say did this, and it was like, oh, well, let's do that crazy lighting scenario.
It looks just like your painting you guys did
it's
3
really
years
cool.
ago.
So beautiful.
We used to have 18 more candidates. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Stephanie? We had like all sorts of things
And the
going.
whole village.
Happening. The Dragon Warrior. It's
That joke was from who?
That was from Mary Quinn, producer, came up with that joke because we're really struggling with how to get out of that. Well, We ended with the scream, which is silly, but him pointing to himself was Mary Quinn.
So good.
Thank you, Mary.
Warrior, you will know when you know.
How do I know when I know? You know?
We asked Jack Black if he needed anything to actually chew on for this, and he told us, no, I'm used to this, and he just totally pretended that he was eating something while saying these lines.
I feel that he was chewing on his tongue, to be fair.
Oh, well, okay.
But it worked. He didn't need anything. There's our emotional prop set up. You always need a Zuzu's pedals. Oops, I mentioned another film.
Be the pit, Poe. Be the pit.
This pit plays a big part in the movie later on.
And where did it just go now? Very clever animation. He just
Animation
tucked it into his pants. The old Bugs Bunny.
Yep.
He Bugs Bunnied it away.
He's got like 15 pockets. It's fine.
Inner peace.
I love coming back to this tree, by the way, from the first one.
Dinner with peas. Snow peas? In a sesame soy glaze.
That was Jack improvising, right?
Yeah, he came up with dinner, please. That was his line. I think we did have dinner with peas, and he improved upon it.
This is not working at all. Maybe focus on your breathing. I'm trying, but it's kind of hard.
And this was written just as a throwaway in his head, and we obnoxiously opened it up and created floating heads, remember?
Yeah.
In animation. That was kind of at the last minute, too, wasn't it, Cal? That we...
Yeah, it was real last minute.
Yeah, we didn't even have a rig of Poe without the body. We had
Right.
a re-rig, just a head. I think Laurent spent almost a month and a half animating this one shot. There's so many heads of so
did a
long.
great job.
Yeah,
So
it's
good.
so cool.
And then Paul added the Tautier puff away.
Yes.
Which is a cool thing, Paul, you did to it for this. It is a part 4, but I feel that it's got its own style, specifically with your Tautier designs, that is a part of a franchise, but then is its own look to it.
It did grow organically. I love it when it grows out of,
Story.
story. Yeah, for sure.
Attention, mysterious figure. The Dragon Warrior's here to perform justice.
This is a brand new area of the Jade Palace, the Hall of Heroes.
And here, just a matter of time before.
It feels like in Kung Fu Panda 3, they destroyed the Jade Palace, so we could put an extra annex in here. So
That was your excuse.
yeah.
I learned so much from this sequence. This sequence kept me up at night because it was our first action sequence. It was really difficult. And Mike had always told us that continuity is not important for the audience. They're going to get it. You can move the camera. You can cheat things. Mike, do you want to talk about that with us?
I don't know if I want to out myself, but yes, continuity is not as important. And we really get into it in animation because we're looking at things frame at a time. And often it just doesn't matter, I don't think.
Yeah.
That little move that Poe did was a homage to Shifu from the first movie. That
That's
Mike.
right.
Got a walking stick. What are you gonna do? Stroll me to death?
This stick is not for the strolling. It's the staff of wisdom.
The Dragon Warrior is gonna be mad when he.
And this whole room was very, very beautiful and bright. And Mike kept saying, make it like a museum at night. Darker, darker, darker. And we sort of were dragged kicking and screaming. But at the end, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I made you turn the lights off. I'm sorry
Yeah,
about that. Paul,
That's
but
okay.
Paul was like, I want to see everything. There's a big introduction of Aquafina.
Yeah.
There's Zhen.
And we're very conscious. Stephanie wanted to make sure that it didn't look romantic. It shouldn't be
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
in any way.
At least once a week. They're just friends, guys.
Yes, just friends. Kept us honest.
This was a lot of Philippe's 2D choreography.
Hmm.
Turned out so good.
Funny sound effects by
The urn of whispering
Ethan and Eric.
words, which I've already broken twice.
Why would you keep an urn of souls? Feels kind of creepy.
Those souls cannot get a rest.
Yeah. Do you think everyone remembers them from the other movies? I always wonder if that's just a big deal to us of like, oh, you got to have the Urn
I
of
think
Souls.
so.
It was in every movie, right?
That's my favorite prop in there. The little chipmunk's hammer.
Yeah.
It looks like a little acorn.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to see him wield it.
Yeah.
His war hammer. That would have been interesting if we did kill her there.
End of the movie right there.
It's in credits.
You faker.
It's not faking. It's called method. Catch you later, Panda.
So, I think I'll catch you.
This is another cool idea that Philippe came up with, using these meteor hammers like that.
Yeah, and for him to take advantage of the oil on the floor, was that Trey? Did Trey do this sequence?
Yeah, that was actually Trey Bongiorno, our story artist, that came up with this particular moment right here.
Yeah.
Very clever, where Poe outwits the fox.
I'll move ahead and say Trey also came up with our fart joke, so hats off to this board artist.
Let go of me. Just tell me one thing. How did someone like you become the Dragon Warrior?
That's a mystery for you to solve during your 2-year stay at the Valley of Peace prison.
Valley of Peace prison? Sounds like a date.
Awkwafina is so good in this.
She is. She's great.
That voice really comes out of this character, too.
Did you see how she spit in Poe's face? Stephanie created an arc of that moment where Poe gets to spit in her face later.
Oh.
At the beginning of the third act. Yeah. Every setup's got to pay off.
And then at the end of the movie, we have Shifu spitting Poe's face.
Shifu spits it. But it lingers out there that no one spit in Shifu's face. So we're going to have to resolve that in the next one.
Well, you know what they say. Every step leaves a footprint, no matter how small.
That was a big one. We had about 8,000 proverbs, but really that one fit the best because of footprints, right?
Yeah.
The story team, we did that more than ever, where we're like a list of ideas from everyone, and then we'd vote on the best.
We had to make sure the audience knew that we're coming back to the quarry.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have that big broken wheel in the background.
Yeah.
Very clever, Fox. You know something.
Maybe
There's the jail/daycare.
Yeah. Not a great daycare. When the lights are on, it's a bit more fun for the children.
This was storyboarded by Joanne Matt, and she has really good ideas on how to storyboard Jen. That actually gave us a lot of ideas on how do we, moving forward, like when we storyboard Jen, what's her personality?
It was a great kickoff to her character. You're right.
Yeah, Joanne really helped to inform who Zhen was and how she would move and act and think and speak. Oh, yeah, she's great.
This is kind of
I love this joke.
Who's the chameleon?
It helps too that Chris put in quack, quack, quack in editing. Quack, quack, quack.
What board artist came up with the flashback we just saw there? Came from the board, right?
Young.
Ki-yoon.
Oh, it was really cool because, we just painted that basically. It was so good.
Isn't someone who can be found. At least not without someone.
In the know.
And how do I find someone in the know?
No, it's me. It's obviously it's me. I'm in the know.
The animators really liked her fumfering, right? Don't you guys like it when Awkwafina would kind of fumfer into a line?
Or it's not perfect delivery or the perfect movement when you go to grab something. It's not like right to the handle and the door opens perfectly. Yeah, that
Really
little nuance,
Yeah.
that adds a lot.
This really does follow the boards too. Even Poe, when he returned there all slumped, that was Joanne.
Yeah, it was Joanne. Yeah.
Shifting sorceress on the loose.
That's the job for the Furious Five.
Well, they're not here, and someone needs to protect the Valley of Peace.
Look, I know that
This was a sequence that we worked on during the actor strike. So we had no voices for Shifu, for Poe. And Mike, you were the voice of Poe for a long time.
Yeah, it did not sound like Jack Black, I got to tell you right now. It was not great.
And then later when the actors came back, we had to reanimate a lot of the stuff.
And then I think it really set a tone for us appreciating the actors even more than we already did. Like, how
Totally.
great is it to have Jack Black doing his thing?
You were a good Poe, though.
Well, thank you. I'm not so good at Mr. Bing, I got to say. Thank God.
I'll have her back before you even know she was gone.
you are supposed to be passing along wisdom and inspiring all.
Now, does anyone know that she was wearing handcuffs here that she slipped off of her hands and somehow put around the goose? This is a joke for us, but does anyone catch that?
And then Shifu could just totally take it off because it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Fit its wrist.
His wrist is like an inch thick.
This is kind of your idea, Mike. You just said, give me a place where we're walking that is as iconic as Shrek walking through the sunflowers. And so he's like, rhododendrons.
Yeah,
And,
they're leaving town.
Yeah.
An easy mark.
And you made it beautiful.
Someone
And you mentioned Shrek, which we're not allowed to do, I guess.
Or not?
No,
Thanks
our
to
own
Juniper
films were
City.
allowed to.
All right.
Okay.
I heard the chameleon.
This is another one of our oneers.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one's a minute long.
A minute long. Wow.
And storyboarded by
Consideration.
Travis.
Travis Chen.
Travis Chen.
Yeah. He did most of our dad sequences. Then everyone's gossiping about the chameleon.
Great way to set up the chameleon.
Like anyone,
savings you. Or you.
Layout really helped us out with this shot because Lee keeps leaving the frame, and that allowed me to give it to different animators.
Oh,
so
nice.
every time he left, someone else would do the next part of the shot with Lee.
It was clever too. Lee kind of pulls your eye to the next place. Like you're always following Lee. He's the hinge of the camera to get nerdy about it.
Totally.
We kept calling this. Oh, I can't mention the movie.
What was this based
It's
on?
a Scorsese film, and it has a lot of gang stuff. It's a big, long take in it that we kept.
Thank you. Like that's yeah.
I didn't mention the movie.
Right. Hold up.
Who is he to summon us?
This is such a cool introduction to the chameleon. This was actually animated with a different version where we saw the Komodos bring the chameleon out right away. And then
with her big cool door and her tree, she was lounging in her tree. But then it was rewritten by David Lindsay-Abaire, Pulitzer Prize winning David Lindsay-Abaire, who has helped me on Shrek 4, and he helped on Trolls in the 9th inning. And he came back and figured out a better way to introduce our villain.
Even cooler now.
This is where you first see all the Tautier designs and structures of our villain, before we even see the villain.
By the way, that badger is from, I can't mention other movies. Well, I'll say this. The guy who does the voice of the crocodile that just transformed is Private Penguin. Is that his name? No, it's not Private. It's the lead penguin. Tom McGrath. Director Tom McGrath.
This is one of my favorite shots. I don't know why. She's all like, never mind, it's okay. But behind her, there's this whole machinery. And it's just like, she's been, that's okay, don't worry. And you've just got this.
And her army shows up.
Army, yeah, it's really cool.
Paul, that's all because of you. Because, when we rewrote this scene, she's not coming out of her cool, intimidating doorway anymore on her tree. And I thought, oh my God, Paul's going to kill us if we don't introduce his cool door. Yeah, so we just found a place to gratuitously put it in so you wouldn't be mad at us.
It's awesome.
It's great. I don't know if anyone notices too, the guy who puts her down on the tray, he stays knelt through the entire scene. He's still there, kneeling down behind the table. Pink.
Still there.
The sound effects guys put in a wet sound with that. I wonder, did that make it funnier? I wonder. For her eyes.
I like it.
Good.
For the impudence.
Like the original idea was that the villain is actually a different species, and one day you came to the story team and say, "Yeah, what do you guys think of as a chameleon?" So how did that idea come? Like to make?
Well, it's a boring story, but we figured, what's an animal that can change the speeds? It was that. Like a chameleon. But I will say this: once we settled on a chameleon. The writer really liked that, and then he had all of her henchmen were snakes and lizard and
regular reptile,
and we couldn't afford like the army of reptiles that he had because we've never really embraced a reptile in this movie before, have we? In any of the Kung Fu Pandas?
No,
sea creatures and reptiles for some reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, we couldn't afford to do any henchmen at all. So if you look at that badger that's in this scene, we shaved off his fur and we stretched him around and made him into a Komodo dragon. So we could say fuck, and we pulled a tail out of him.
Excellent.
Does that make sense? Like we shaped the badger into a Komodo.
You're just gonna.
They're actually.
Yeah, that was Brian Jeffcoat. He did some magic on there and made it into a completely different animal.
They're closely related design-wise.
They are. They're very related. If you look at their heads, you're like,
see it.
One thing that might be interesting for the listeners of this to know is this originally started out as a live action hybrid movie.
Yeah.
And what happened? Why did we change it from live action, where Poe was going to be the only CG element, right? He's going to be the only animated character. Everything else was going to be full live action.
It was actually a mix of humans and animals. And they visited the Human province.
Yeah.
It was all humans.
Right.
I know. And then here's what blew everyone's mind. We were not going to do a realistic Poe, like animal. Like everyone thought Poe was going to look like a real panda bear. And that's not who Poe is. Everyone knows him as this. So, and in my mind, you could stick with this design and still have humans and it'd be charming and wonderful. And it happens all the time. Like those chipmunks. Oh, I'm not supposed to mention movies. Often in a hybrid film, the animals don't look like realistic animals. And that was just too much of a hurdle. So it's like, forget it. This franchise is great enough. We'll just make it into an animated film. And I think it's the last furry, fuzzy big budget panda. I shouldn't say that either. The end. You'll never see a film this beautiful.
I think once Zhen became a fox and Chameleon, once that happened, then everything moved very fast and locked into
It
place.
fell into place.
Yeah, it really did.
It's just natural.
That's Juniper City.
What other characters or other creatures, animals, did you guys consider for Zhen?
We
Well,
actually
she was a human ninja girl at one point.
She's going to be Corsac Fox, I think. No, wait.
That's
what she is.
No, there's another one. I can't remember.
she was going to be a cat type.
Caracal or something.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But then as we were exploring all those different cat types, we were like, oh man, she's just not as cool as Tigress.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we didn't want that instant comparison that fans would definitely do. So we're like, we have to make her into something that's not in the family of the cat.
Mm-hmm.
The inspiration for this Happy Bunny Tavern, I think, came from, I know lots of castles and houses on the hills in Ireland where I come from. And I know lots of bars where people get thrown out of windows there. So I think a lot of that came from my youth.
Well, it's also every one of my favorite kung fu movies has a tavern fight sequence in it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, you got to do it.
Yeah.
And then Granny Board was inspired by another film with a landlady.
Landlady.
Yeah, that has curlers in her hair.
And that does incredible kung fu.
Yep.
We built this whole tavern, and then I think it was Tom McGrath came up like, hey, let's make it tippy. And it's like, I had to circle back and figure out how to make it more
I
tippier.
remember the producers, Rebecca and Mary, coming in. She's, has Tom been in here? What? Why is the tavern suddenly tipping? Well, it's good.
No, it really worked out.
It's such a great idea.
I know.
I feel that Chip and Fish came from the board team.
This was actually Trey Bunch.
Trey, yeah.
Try again.
Yeah.
Trey's got quite a thumbprint on this film, man. That guy's talented. And again, another aquatic creature that fills my nerd fantasy. Guys, there's a whole world underwater. When you guys make Kung Fu Panda 5, please make it all underwater. I'll be honest, too. The writer, Darren Limke, wanted to do underwater. That's how they got into the lair. Is they have to go underwater to the sewer, and they had to fight the octopuses. It was too expensive, I'm sad to say. Stephanie made sure every mahjong tile was represented accurately, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, I think I taught
The animation team how to play mahjong.
the layout team. Yeah.
That was one of the most fun days on the show, learning how to play that. I still have no idea how to play it. It's so complicated.
You weren't listening.
I was listening so intently, it didn't matter.
I'm sorry. But thank you, Mom and Dad, for teaching me how to play
That was fun.
this gambling game.
Well then, come and get it.
No, don't come and get it.
Destroy
This was one of the first action set pieces we did in the film also. And we should also mention that we had a live action fight choreographer that helped us with a lot of the ideas and the planning for this. So we sent him the rough layout, the previs.
Yeah.
And then he and his team, I think they were in Atlanta, right? They shot all this amazing stunt choreography.
It was actually Don Tai.
Oh.
Don Tai Tiratata,
Yeah.
He's the one who,
He was our stunt choreographer.
yeah.
stunt choreographer, live action, worked on tons of excellent films.
Yeah.
And you guys had some live action reference for this.
We did. It was the best live action reference we've ever seen. It was like from every angle. It was real fighters, not animators pretending like they were doing kung fu.
And they built some amazing props, like
They did.
the Staff of Wisdom, and also I think they gave themselves ears and tails so that you guys could animate correctly.
I thought it would be more realistic if they had a tail. So then they tied this little thing to their belt.
Yeah.
So it would look like Jed.
Think this belongs to you?
This whole idea right there just came from them. Her going under the legs and Poe stopping her. Remember?
That's right.
It was neat too because we got some authentic moves with this staff. We haven't seen Poe really wield this staff in previous films, have we? Just a little bit.
A little bit in the third one.
A little bit at the end, third act, and here he's holding it the whole time. So we wanted to get some good moves.
Never too late to do the right thing.
Speaking of which, I did make a pitch to not have him holding the staff throughout the whole movie.
Yes, you did. You wanted
Because
to.
it was going to be a nightmare.
For a second, I think Paul, did you make a staff pouch for his back at one point?
Yes, a staff holder, so we didn't have to hold it.
And then Stephanie and I ruined everyone's time by going, nope, he's holding the staff.
Whoa, nice.
We made it work somehow.
Teach me that.
I think there's only like 2 sequences in the whole movie where he doesn't hold the staff.
This is one of the first graphic ones we did, I think. And it was, I can't mention the movie. There's a movie with a guy with a whip and another hero with a gun.
Yes.
I don't know. Somebody made that. Anyway, that was basically a precursor to any fight.
He's an archaeologist.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. With a hat, a dusty hat. So basically, any fight that happens now, there'll be a little graphic precursor, and it sort of organically grew out of that.
We started to call it that paint swipe. We call it "It's on" paint stripe because it would swipe when the fight was getting serious, right, Paul?
Yeah,
Is that how we do it?
I feel like in every kung fu movie, there's a little play before the actual fight.
Right.
There's a little like posturing, you know?
Yeah.
And that's our graphic version of that.
Not that I'm worried, but what if the chameleon knows we're coming? Oh, she could be anywhere.
I'm going to give a shout out to Mary Quinn again. She came up with this little goosey boost, this little whack, which makes little to no sense, but it's interesting.
This is such a cool set. And I think, Mike, you were the one who found the inspiration for this set.
Yes, it was from another kung fu film that I'm a huge fan of that I can't mention the name of right now. But I just love it. How weird. Things just jutting out of the mountain. It's such a mix of ancient China and fantasy. And a journey.
How was that for acting brave? Keep working on it.
Why is he always mad? Keep working on it.
Juniper City. It's going to be great to be back home again.
Does your family live there too?
They would.
Oh, this scene is so hard to crack. We did so many versions. This is like
it's a very talky scene, Cal. And so it was up to you guys to keep it moving and keep it rolling. And we went back again and again and again.
And this stuff came really late, this sort of stylized look. You'll see it twice in the movie. There's a famous old Japanese printmaker, and we were looking at Chinese prints as well of that style. We just didn't want to go to sepia and just be boring, you know?
Yeah, that was really cool.
So
I think
original.
it was nice. Our producers, I think it was Rebecca that was like, let's make a young Zhen. Which I was like, oh, we can do that late in the game? Let's go.
Yeah, we didn't have time to remodel it and re-rig it. So what we did was we took the normal version of Zhen and we just made her head bigger, scaled down her body, made her eyes really big, and it
We changed
turned
her
out okay.
clothes too.
I thought you guys just pushed and pulled a badger.
I'm supposed to become spiritual leader. I have to find a way.
In this scene, we also for quite a while we had Poe teaching Zhen that staff move from the tavern. But I think we decided to move it later, Mike, right? Because you felt that it was too soon in their friendship to have him teach her.
Yeah, it felt like it really bonded them early.
Yeah.
And we wanted to hold off on that and maybe bond them later.
I think that was a really good call. Because it was just like, oh, wow, they're friends already.
Yeah.
So early.
Yeah, we even showed it to an audience, and they're like, I think they commented.
Whoa, that guy. He drinks like a fish.
Should he be?
we ever mention that the bird's name is Chip? Because that's such a funny idea that it's Fish and Chip.
Fish and Chip.
Who named them?
That was Saint Pierre, I think, the character designer.
Yeah.
One of the character designers. He just wrote it on the page and that it stuck.
Done. See, now look, that's the iron ore from the first shot of the film, guys. No one knows. She used to have dialogue. Ah, iron ore. She talked about it for 15 minutes.
From the first sequence in the movie.
And look, our bosses came back again.
But Chameleon! Go, before I toss you down another flight of stairs.
Honestly, that really isn't enough gold.
It's not.
What were they thinking?
I know. It's not. It doesn't come close to doing what she needs. This was late in the game too. Paul. You did a great job.
Was this the last scene?
Last scene,
Pretty much.
From here to the Valley of Peace and beyond.
All got trippy.
Keeping with, the Kung Fu Panda, where we sort of go into graphic worlds and see what can be, but just in a different way.
The chameleon.
The cherry tree was burning.
I saw the chameleon.
That was always Mike's mandate, which I loved, which was he didn't want to use stuff that we came up with in the previous films or any even other DreamWorks films, like if we were to do like things on twos or stylize things in a way that didn't feel unique to Kung Fu Panda 4. And that's where the paint stroke came out of, right? And a lot of those things were because Mike wanted to really push for something unique.
Well, I love I'm a big fan when I watch a film and it's inherent to that film. You know, you can't take a character out of this film and put it in another film. It wouldn't fit. And I like that.
And this is our big shot of Juniper City. I needed to make this city feel like like a modern day Shanghai or Hong Kong. It had to be, Po is like a country mouse. This is the big city, so it had to feel bigger than any other city we've ever built.
He has been to a big city before. In Kung Fu Panda 2, he went to Gongmen City. But I think what Paul did so great here was that I think Gongmen City was actually very symmetrical and structured. And then Paul, you wanted to make sure it felt like it was dynasty upon dynasty. Is how you
piles of buildings, from old and then new built on top, right?
Yeah. Dynasty after dynasty.
Michael's animators in the Crouch department did an amazing job with this sequence. It really feels like it's full and comes to life.
And this is where we get trippy again with the crazy food dreams, fever dreams all over this movie.
This was Baby.
Yeah. This all came from board artists. We just sort of painted it. And
Catherine Ryder.
Yeah, it was really
good.
good.
The whole thing.
Focus.
This city is the most amazing place I've ever seen.
I used to feel the same way.
Yeah, in fact, this was her whole chunk.
Yeah.
Catherine's.
Yeah, she's a one tick. And like, oh, there you go.
And this is where the Komodos shake down all the citizens.
Well, I'll tell you guys a little trick here. We're coming to a new city. It's wonderful. It's filled with great food, but it's supposed to be oppressed by the villain. So this is us having our cake and eating it too. Like we do a little mini movie in the middle of it of like, remember the bad guys around.
How'd you know?
Not my first time.
And then we can go back to having fun right after this. Don't know if it's fully successful or not.
Totally.
Yeah, well, let's just say a face like mine is...
It is funny to see food in animated films, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see that watermelon in the background there? I want to have some watermelon right now.
Never mentioned you were wanted.
Don't worry. The law has better things to do than look for me.
Hey, Fox.
Great costumes on those guys, Paul.
Is this Seth again?
I think Seth came up with these. Seth St. Pierre. We had two, Uni Cho and Seth St. Pierre, were character designers on this movie.
And it's not easy to do police officers in fantasy ancient China.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, there's your idea, Paul.
There's some more graphics.
Wait.
That's a nice transition. So fun.
Okay, so we tried it your way. Now we try it.
Oh yeah, Zhen has this sort of Tautier earpiece. It becomes a key. I really love that idea.
Yeah, it's part of her belt as well. That was an early idea, right,
Really
Stephanie?
That was Mike's idea. He always thought it would be so cool if there was this prop that Zhen had that was actually a gift from her master, the Chameleon.
You know what? We wanted to bring it back to. That's how Poe got out of his cage at the end, but it seemed too complicated. Too many props.
Yeah.
We had the peach pit. We had the little key.
Yeah.
These bulls are incredible. The running of the bulls.
Let's go.
And Gary Graham storyboarded the whole chase.
Yep.
So fun.
Those are my favorite sounds there that the actors were not pleased to do.
You had to show Aquafina how to do that.
I did. And to be fair, Jack delighted in doing any weird sounds. So that was not fair. But yes, Aquafina was like, how does it go down the stairs again? You know, ga 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 ga. Oh man, this animation. Who's the guy that did this, Sean?
Frost?
Yeah, Prost did all the 2D line work for where the ropes were going to be, and then CFX was able to use that as a guide.
I love it.
He color coded every rope and really figured out the physics of it. It was crazy. Prost did an amazing job.
And him flying through the air, that was early storyboards from
Young.
From Young.
Yeah.
I would never like to land on a barrel of durians.
No.
No.
What? I would not have guessed that about you.
I do it every morning, guys.
Originally, it was like softer fruit, right? Or something smooth. And we're like, it needs to be painful fruit.
Might give us hell on this shot to make it feel like a bloody China shop.
I love how that's the commentary.
That's a great joke.
That seems so funny.
Yeah.
You guys are all done. You never have to listen to me ever again.
I love that shot with the bull cop running like the
The T.
Like the T.
Like that
Like
robotic
a
character
McQueen
from another
police
movie.
officer from a sequel.
And this idea started where it was like, oh, Zhen knows the city so well. There's all these secret passageways to things. And so we came up with he had to play drums. I was like, why are you playing drums? There's bulls chasing us, you know?
You guys had a whole bunch of examples beforehand that were
Yeah.
really cool. And then you're like, what if it's a drum shop? It was really clever.
Yeah.
In fact, more so than any film, production design came up with a lot of great story moments in
yeah.
this. Production and animation.
Uh-oh. Now you kids be...
Where do these rabbits come from? I remember we had a brainstorm session early on, but we always had the Den of Thieves sequence, but we didn't know what the characters were going to do and who they were.
Was it
Where did
Tom?
they come from?
Nice, right?
I know. I got
Tom.
Darren Limke,
Oh.
the scriptwriter, wrote these guys in.
So good.
And it's funny because we were struggling with how do we make these Den of Thieves that we got all these fun characters in here.
So you're friends with all these people.
They're practically family.
Zhen!
Oh, Kihi Kwan.
The best.
Honest, great.
And I love his performance
Is that real?
because he's weird.
Han, my old men.
He's kind of evil. Listen to how charming his voice is, but he turns evil here.
Yeah.
And when you did,
Those scales were a nightmare. Build and surface and light, yeah.
I remember looking over Avery's shoulder at your meetings, and I was like, they're looking at this pangolin again? It's like, it's been a year looking at this pangolins.
Yep.
And I was like, why? And she said, get away from my desk.
painful it is.
Paul, how did we come up with this anime treatment on their eyes? Because we didn't have that with the rig. I think that was something you guys came up with later, right?
On me, you're gonna have to answer to.
I think that came, Stephanie, that was,
I think I asked for that. I
Yeah.
was like, well, we have these massively cute bunnies now. Of course, we need to put the anime eye treatment on them.
So cool.
That regional?
Introduce them, Poe. To your fists.
Where did these guys come from, by the way? I think this is so fun. These little tiny shifus.
yeah.
This is great.
Yes.
Was that scripted? Did
It was
that come from
scripted.
Darren Limke?
It was coming from there.
That was neat because it kind of fits into the world at the beginning when he's meditating. in
Yeah.
his own heads.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was very confused the first time I saw these guys. I was like, why is Shifu saying this? He's so mean. And then you all pointed out, well, this is actually Poe's perception.
Right.
It's not really
Shifu.
Really
Yeah.
Shifu. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, you let us get away with it.
What I'm saying is, if we don't hurt Zhen a little now,
We can hurt her a lot later.
All these characters have maladies. They're all like losing a leg, or instead of a horn, they've got a tree growing out of their head. Or they're all like
They're all-
damaged in some way or another.
But the thing is, they actually did it to themselves. Just
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
a lot of good points.
I like it.
No, wait! Come back! I'll come up with better wisdom.
You have got to workshop those proverbs.
Look at this.
The Kung Fu Panda.
Beautiful desk.
The son of Mr.
Han has this office where it basically, the pangolin, where there's all these holes in the wall. He can shout down one of them or escape another one. And it's his little version of the internet.
Legendary Master Shifu. But not you.
Did someone say legendary?
Very common names were written by Lillian. Was one of our
Lillian Yu. Yeah.
Lillian Yu was one of our writers that came up with a bunch of funny little bits. I love that one. Very common names.
These bunnies are terrifying.
They
Yeah.
are.
Tom came up with a lot of gigs for all the
Tomograph.
Tomograph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He directs Boss Baby and all the Madagascar.
Medical
Fine.
So it's like,
Yep.
yeah.
And he's one of the voices of the Penguins.
But if you still here by nightfall, I'm calling the boats myself. Sleep tight.
He had such a fun time playing a villain.
Yeah.
Villainess.
So tonight we take
His evil laugh is pretty good. Monkeys in pants.
Give them back. Those are custom.
Guillermo animate that shot.
They both
Great.
smack their own butt at the same time. They've got it worked out. Those guys had a routine. I wonder if they discussed it.
They do it a lot.
Look at that lighting, Paul.
Yeah, pretty moody in there for being so sunlit outside.
It's a restaurant. These are my people. We speak the same language. You
I love this comedic duo. I think this is my favorite sequence in the film.
I love it that we come back to the same location twice, different ones at night and ones in the day. It's really cool.
I just love any sequence that's around Mr. King.
Yeah.
Anything with James Hogg. He's so funny too, how he's all, these are my people. You wait here. Like he's happy and then he's angry and then he's happy again.
How much did he improv?
It was a lot of improv, but it's more like he had an interesting take on everything. It was almost like he was bringing the past Kung Fu Pandas forward.
Yeah.
Because if you remember in the past film, he was kind of competitive with Bryan Cranston. So he hung on to some of that. I'm also his father. If you remember, like later on, when he says,
So he's trying to one-up him.
Yeah.
I think that all came from James, just his interpretation of the scene.
James is just an acting genius.
He is.
Back. No. But you're about to wish he was.
I remember we had a test screening of this, and one of the guys that we brought to the front row, and we asked questions, what did they like about the movie, what did they not like? The thing he said he liked the best was this sequence with Heisenberg dead.
See, we can't mention that, though. What a ripoff.
I know.
I don't believe in it. Now this can go one of two ways. The easy way.
That's Leron?
Yeah, Leron did this.
He loves to animate his belly jiggling. Do you notice that? There's a lot of follow through with Lee's belly.
I understand what you're saying because you have no teeth.
This was such a great line read from Bryan Cranston, too. And Mike, this was an idea I think you came up with, and then you cut it out, and I said, please put it back.
No one liked it.
I loved it.
And you said to put it back in. And this is, once again, McGrath came up with the old teeth out. And then we had one tooth.
We had one tooth.
And then we had three. And that was also contentious of like, too many teeth.
I think we did 5. 5 was too many. 3 was the right amount. Hippie Tavern idea is so funny. I think this freaked out a lot of the other departments because they didn't know how we were going to do it, because in CG, every asset doesn't know the other asset exists. So they all go through each other. So if you want a table to look like it's on the ground, you have to kind of visually match it, or you have to do this like constraint thing. So like, well, if the whole tavern moves, everything has to move. How do we do it? So we came up with a little bit of a Star Trek idea. So which was we move the camera. So the camera will tilt, but the tavern stays where it is. So it looks like everything's tilting, and then we don't have to worry about all these parenting constraints. So it was a simpler way to make it look like the whole tavern was tipper.
Sean, that sounds awful. Nothing I wanted to be a part of. And thank you for keeping me out of those meetings.
I love this shot.
Yeah, we had to show off the city at night because Paul was going to get mad at us if we didn't.
Well, I wanted to make the city feel somewhat modern, so we came up with this signage that looked like modern Shanghai, but the signs were basically lit by candles.
Yeah, and no print on them. They're all visual. They're all characters.
Yeah, there's no type whatsoever.
But stir later, roll.
And here's the part that Stephanie was talking about where he's teaching her the move.
And Skablam is...
Didn't the animator come up with lighting the match on the tooth?
He did, yes.
That was who was that?
Gonzo did some of this, and then Joe Chong did that.
Yeah, Joe came up with the match on the tooth. I just think that was delighting.
Funny.
I love it when you guys added jokes. You did a lot of it.
Thieves?
Little visual moments.
And you two, get out of my sight.
This was interesting for me, Paul, because you created such a beautiful, beautiful wide shot, but they're really going into the meet the villain. So it was hard to you put a little bit of doom into the clouds and the sky, right? But
yeah, and you don't want to come in through the front door here. You just they're sneaking in. What I love about the fortress is you look down and you've got this city of just all these animals and hustle and bustle, but then you've got this fortress that's cold and empty and kind of lonely, That's Chameleon.
It's supposed to remind me that every pit holds the promise of a mighty tree.
Yeah, and there's only one Komodo that talks, Larry.
Yeah.
The rest of them just kind of march around and grunt.
I love the acting here. Look at that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of subtext in here. You don't want to tip the hat, right? She knows where he's going now. But
yeah. It's interesting. She's feeling guilty, right?
Yeah.
And then she blows it off.
Well, to be fair, she didn't know the full plan.
She didn't think he was going to get murdered.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Patrick Giussiano animated this.
Look at this shot. This is our shot from another film where the man who plays Shifu plays a woman.
This is the only place we show that these poor bunnies have to light all the candles for all the signs. And in the morning, you blow them out.
It's just that one guy's job.
Yeah, it's only one bunny in the whole city.
He lights all the candles and then has to snuff them out.
We should have put more bags under his eyes.
You're right. Paul, can you still do it? Is it too late?
I could try. I'll put it in luster.
Great.
How can you tell?
We pandas have a gift for seeing what others cannot. Come on, there may be more clues up ahead.
This particular scene is actually another example of art and story work together. I think Pete came up with this idea, right?
Pete's a massive Frazetta fan, so Pete came up with this first bit, and then I just wanted to do something
in the tunnel.
With the tunnel, and I said that door's got to be used again. So that doorway it's almost Swiss Army knife. So many things it can do, but we sort of handed off a rough idea, the story, and
so
you
Pete
guys
had sleeping Komodo.
Yeah.
And then from there, from the moment Poe came out of the manhole cover, that was actually all Trey Bongiorno again.
Yeah, Trey did the whole sequence. And this idea right here, which we will always love and regret a little bit, both at once. No, we'll never regret it.
I think it's our best fart joke at DreamWorks.
And there's Paul's Swiss Army knife. It's not easy.
No.
There's been a lot of fart jokes in the history of cinema, and I feel that this one goes on an upper shelf.
I remember we saw that in previs, and I made a joke that I said, Paul, is it going to be a Tautier fart?
Yeah. You might have given us the idea of why not? All the little dust was Tautier.
We wanted to make sure that just now Poe and Zhen, they're at the quote-unquote height of their
working
teamwork.
Together.
Yeah. So that when it comes next, it just comes from this very sort of emotional high of their friendship.
It's more of a gut punch when she
does the thing.
Messes him over. And I would hope that an audience doesn't see that coming,
It's no use.
We gotta brace it with something.
Here, use my staff.
Every time we tested it, there was so many gasps.
Yeah.
Right here.
At this point right here.
I love this. Nobody sees this coming. It's just, whoa.
Which
what?
proceeds into darkness.
And then
Real
the
cool.
shadow. I tortured you guys on that because layout presented her coming out of the shadows. I thought it was so neat. Thank you, Paul. It looks beautiful.
Oh, cool.
I believe is how it works. You were right, Jade. He was in.
And then come on. That voice of the chameleon is fantastic.
That was
Viola
amazing.
Davis. And it looks like you guys really got into how she was saying the words too. That's another thing that I'm really impressed with you guys. I love it when in an animated film, it really looks like the voice is coming out of the character's face. And every one of these characters, as weird as their muzzles are, from the pangolin to Aquafina, that all seems like really paying attention to the performance of the actor.
Yeah, juicy performances to work off of.
Here's Paul's, I want to see a whole movie in this technique, Paul. This is like your flashback look.
Yeah, it really came together. So the lighters took a hold of this and just ran with it.
What's interesting is her jewel is kind of shaped like our peach pit.
That's exact. Yeah, that was.
And was that, whose idea? Was that your idea, Stephanie?
I think that was Paul.
Where it was neat where she was gifted with something from Poe and then gifted with something from the chameleon.
It might have been Chris Kuzer's idea, actually.
Really?
Might have been, and then I ran with it.
Chris Kuzer was the one who's like, that stingray needs to talk. But instead, we just had to eat 3 pigs.
Yeah.
We're like, that did the note.
That was his idea as well, right? To have him, spit out the pig.
Yeah, fair enough. He's like, but why is Poe beating up this thing, this innocent? Right. He had a kinship with the stingray. And by the way, that stingray was created only because I was trying to get past our budget by creating an animal that didn't have arms or legs, so it would be easier to animate and build for Paul to build.
My destiny. And so I chose a different path.
Sorcery. I grew. I excelled. And I got everything I had ever dreamed of.
Everything except Kung Fu. Just because I can look like Tyler doesn't mean I can fight like him.
You see, Poe, Kung Fu.
This room you see right now, it looks flat and just like an empty silo, but it has a surprise coming up that I'll tease for later.
All right.
You're gonna steal Tai Lung's kung
You've got me curious about
Yeah.
it.
Every master villain that came before me. And once I do, no one will dare.
This throne that she has right now, like we have to have a throne. And how can we do an iconic throne that isn't just a boring throne? It's like, and I kept thinking of pets in the pet store, and it's like, well, a chameleon or a lizard will have a tree in its glass,
Piece of driftwood.
Yeah, so she's got her throne as a tree.
It's a great idea.
So cool.
It's a great idea. And it kind of fits into this world where we kind of still have fun with the animals. Like they have human voices, but they also make animal noises.
Yeah.
And sometimes they fall into their animal nature.
I love that. You guys have to talk about this. The layout guys came up with this, right?
Well, we had so many fight sequences and so many fighting Komodos. We're like, what's an original, cool, weird thing that we can do that'll make it different? Right, Stephanie?
This was actually your idea. You were like, we should make something that looks like the Bond.
Yeah. The James Bond opening.
And it looks...
Oh, we can't say James Bond. We wanted something that looked like a secret agent popular franchise opening.
I love the color shift here where it goes from no color at all to like super saturated yellow.
Yeah, these colors are gorgeous.
Simon boarded this sequence for us, I believe.
How?
Including the secret agent homage.
Yes, the
Like,
secret agent homage.
yeah.
And then layout really took it over and,
Yeah.
and made it weirder.
Yeah.
And you can see that the chameleon is so in love with herself that every aspect of her fortress is sort of designed. Statues of herself. She's so in love with herself,
She's a very rich narcissist.
Yeah.
It was interesting in editing Poe when he went off the ledge. Every take we had from Jack Black, his falling, was somehow comical. And so we had to go back and re-record Poe doing a or Jack Black doing a blood-curdling death scream.
Third rule? Some would say.
I love this performance. This is Ludo, who's the supervising animator on the Chameleon.
Yeah, we really got into both their heads. And in fact, we didn't do any cuts here because we knew
See it
Ludo
play
could
out.
nail it. Yeah.
And smile.
There's her shame hood. She puts her hood on when she's feeling a little shameful. I don't know if anyone notices that.
Speaking of Ludo, I think he's the one who really first defined the chameleon's actions.
You're right.
Just
For sure.
her little mannerisms.
And even the transformations. I know Philippe also did some 2D ideas of how she would transform, but yeah, Ludo and Philippe really find that.
Get off me!
I like this POV of probably what's going to happen. Yay!
I don't think anyone was expecting that.
My favorite,
Yeah.
Mr. Ping to save the day. And the sounds of those little feet are very important.
Hi, son.
It's okay. We've got you, Poe. We've got you.
I don't know how Lee got there, but we're rolling with it.
Yeah, well,
Okay. It was both our ideas.
We only follow because we love.
This was boarded by
Followed because you didn't
Andy Erickson.
Yep.
And because we love?
I love that little heart.
little heart. That came from animation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Big time.
Who came up with that?
I think that was Joe.
Yeah.
Gave the staff of wisdom right to the chameleon.
Joe's awesome.
We were going to do a callback to, is she hiding in that, intimidating
Very big
palace?
grew up.
Is that where the villain is? For the dads to look up and see that, but
Only I'd listened
Right.
to Mr. Shifu and stayed in the valley.
taking too long.
The chameleon wouldn't have my
That's why dad's up there in that tree. Don't you worry about it.
I think
Makes
this
sense.
is some little outpost from some former dynasty, like kind of when you like crumbling parts of the Great Wall of China. Some are built and some are falling apart. I think that's where this came from.
In the valley.
So what happened?
Actually, I think John Wong came up with the heart. That wasn't Joe.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's great.
But I also became a father. Nothing's ever.
Can't wait to get the little Lego kit of this palace piece,
Mhm.
Paul.
Yep.
Build it at home.
Because if things stay the same forever, sooner or later, they would lose their flavor.
He's right, Poe. Since I left my village, I've become a
Revisiting the theme.
strong, brave.
I love it. Always kind of go back to Mr. Ping, who really get Poe out. Like from the first movie, looking at the the scroll and Green Dragon.
I think that James Hong and Mr. Ping is always the comedy and the heart of all these films. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Don't tell me you were actually starting to become friends with that panda.
What? No, it's just
when we want something, we must use what.
Fortunately, it's not seen as a joke, but if everyone notices, Paul made a smaller staircase for the chameleon in the middle of the regular size staircase.
Well, it was practical. She's so small that she needs a smaller footprint, like staircase.
It's so funny, but I'm glad it's not like a joke that anyone notices here, but it sure did help out the animators, if I'm not mistaken, Sean.
There was no way she was going to walk down those normal size stairs.
Or she was going to look silly. She was going to go hop,
climb down each one,
hop,
or use the staff as like a pole vault.
If memory serves too, Joanne boarded the first sequence to this, and I'm always struck with how much some of the poses from the chameleon that animation did matched Joanne's boards.
Oh, we always looked at the stuff. Yeah, her drawings were so good.
I mean, she was really into character. She's really good at character.
Yeah, Joanne, she won the Annie Award for storyboarding on Rise of the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Remember it rising faster.
Like, watch this pose right here.
No?
Right there. That's exactly like her boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just for dramatic effect anyway. I think I'm just going to open the spirit realm now.
Our layout team did a great job at this cut right here. I love that. So dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really presented Paul's idea of the door ahead of time. And Paul, you were always like, it's like a match striking an evil match on the ground.
It is. We have to open the portal twice. One, Poe does it in a beautiful way, but Chameleon has to almost like a smash and grab. She sort of
perverts it.
She breaks her way into the spirit realm. She shouldn't be doing this, So it really worked out. There was a yin and yang to both these things, a good and a bad version.
Poe might be an idiot, but he'd never willingly.
Fun to work with Ian McShane. I'm a huge fan.
So good.
I mean, one of the best villains of all time.
Right.
From an animated film is this guy.
100%.
And voiced by Ian McShane.
One of the cool things is that we had a younger team, and David Guo was one of the animators that was like a kid when this movie came out, the first one.
Yeah.
And Tai Lung was his favorite character. So he's like, I would kill to animate Tai Lung. So I gave him a bunch of these. Yeah. Gave a bunch of, can you imagine if I denied it?
I'd be so mad at you going, you let him do it.
I didn't give him a single shot.
Yeah. I made him watch me animate Tai Lung.
This is all Liron.
This is Liron. Yeah, there was some really cool stuff in previs, and then Liron took it from there and just amped it up 100%.
But if I'm not mistaken, unless you guys saved it for behind the scenes, no one complained about doing extra work. Like, it seemed like everyone embraced it and wanted to own it.
100%. It was such a fun challenge for everyone. They gave them more ownership, and they came up with their ideas. It was so good.
This whole room was designed like a jewelry box at the start. There's nothing there. And then as she reveals her plan to get the Kung Fu masters, you see that all these cages come up from the ground.
Yeah, you even built the giant gears that make it move. And completing the arc of the iron ore story.
Yes.
The one that only I am aware of. No one else cares about.
Mike, was this your
little
idea?
Good Monty Python. Hooray.
So funny.
Is now mine. And the best part is, I'm just getting warmed up. Bring me down.
For the longest time, that sequence is actually really difficult as well, because we actually had a version of Tai Lung fighting the chameleon, but then it's kind of confusing to plot. Wait, if chameleon is already so efficient in kung fu, how do stuff like that?
Right,
So
he fought the chameleon.
He fought the chameleon, so we added all the Komodos and make sure Tai Lung come back looking cool and awesome.
And that's probably what helped our previous scene be fought in shadow, because we're like, there's a lot of fighting Komodos in this film. Too many people fighting Komodos. The way we mix it up for the next Komodo fight coming up is we decided to make that one comical, right? We're like, okay, now let's be as funny as we can with our Komodo fights.
Yeah.
And again, they're not Komodos. They're really badgers in disguise. Shaved badgers that have been stretched.
How?
Once again, Trey's boards, if I'm not mistaken. And I think this was not ever written. You guys came up with this in story.
Jeff did a one pass early on, and then we passed it to Trey. And then Gary and Joanne did a little touch up here and there, So it's like this thing that everyone worked on it. But Trey, you did most of the heavy lifting.
This is the one thing that when Darren started to work with us, he just inherited the scene. So everything was up for grabs, but we're like, keep this in because we feel that we planted a flag and we felt that there was an emotional moment between these two people that we thought were friends. And then it's not easy because she did almost get killed, and you got to somehow win her back again, story-wise.
To fight
before he goes.
Yeah, and plus this is the lowest part of the movie, so we took all the color out and made it sort of just flashed of lightning, and this is a crucial moment in the movie,
Martin Lemons animated all this stuff. So good.
It's beautiful.
He was another one. He was 10 years old when the first movie came out. And it was like a dream come true getting to animate on this film.
That's great.
Don't you hate that when you talk to an artist and they're like, oh, I watched that movie as a kid, like kindergarten?
Every directed, people are like, oh, it's a classic. And then a tooth falls out of my head.
This was a big debate, this scene, remember?
Mm-hmm.
I lost.
Yeah. She used to answer his question where he goes, what do you care if I live or die? Right? And she says, because you're my friend.
Yeah.
And the only friend I've ever had. Great line. Too bad I took it out.
We made a vote, a poll for all the animators, and I think it was 80% to 20. 80% wanted to remove the line. Well, it was more powerful without it.
Well, you guys are into visuals and movement, and I would say the subconscious thing is she says that line through her actions. The hug says a lot. When you haven't seen these guys hug, and they're not that type of, they haven't been cuddly.
Whose line was Bryan Cranston's here where he says, that's a bit generous? That's my favorite line.
It was Bryan Cranston, but I think it might have come from Lillian, might have suggested something like that.
That's classic.
Am I wrong?
It's classic.
Yeah, no, Lillian came up with one of our best lines.
Yeah. To be fair, Bryan Cranston did ad lib a lot. He came up with, who was that idiot? That was a Bryan Cranston ad lib. He is great to work with. He is game for anything. And every line, he tries it a different way.
That's what you were saying. That's amazing.
Fantastic. Oh, that was a long time ago.
The dragon is in trouble. Who? Poe. The panda.
Funny little layout camera move there.
No. A different panda.
I'm his father.
I'm also his father.
It's like, listen to that read from James Hum. I'm also his father.
Right.
Like he's angry. Like, what has he got to be angry about? I love it. What a weird take.
Because it's the right thing to do. Stop it! Stop laughing! Look, I know you think it might be too late for a bunch of cheats, thieves, and cutthroats like us to change our ways. But a good friend once told me,
even in the sewers, where you could have less crowds, we just have this world feels so populated.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that, in the city. It doesn't feel like a movie where I'll just put a couple of people here, a couple of characters there, and that'll be it. It feels lived in,
The producers were hoping that we would have fewer credits, and I think we made a promise that they'd all be hidden in the darkened corners.
Bad luck.
And we just didn't do it, did we?
Nope.
Now, you seem to mistake this dragon warrior
Where's Larry?
as underestimating his opponent.
The only lizard that talks, if I'm not mistaken. None of these come.
There's one more, played by Chris Knights.
Oh, you're right. Fair enough.
Coming up right here.
Our editor.
Larry.
There's our editor, Shut Up
on.
Larry, who also plays another penguin from.
He's private, right? Tom was Skipper.
Private, yeah. And Tom plays
Skipper.
Skipper, got it.
We'll take care of the guards.
We will? We will. But how?
Just leave that to me.
This is a weird moment. Look, we really spent time on this guy looking at Zhen, and then Zhen going, I don't know. Not odd. This whole movie moves 1,000,000 miles per hour, except for that's our moment where we stop.
Spend time on it.
This is fun. This is a montage that everyone worked on just to show us that she's got a lot of these guys. We had to sum it up quickly. And so we thought, let's do it with a fun.
That's why she needed so much iron ore, actually.
Yes.
Because she had in mind to bring back all these master villains.
Now you're getting
She's got a lot of cages to make.
and each one is unique, right, Paul?
Yeah, we actually see her making them.
Chameleon is pulling spirits from
Except for Cottontail of Corruption. That guy didn't make it into the film. That was an evil bunny. We had too many evil bunnies, maybe. It looked like we had a thing for
rabbits.
I'm sorry, do I know you?
Do you know me? It's Scott.
You cast this guy, Stephanie.
Yeah.
From Everything Everywhere All at Once. He plays Rakakuni, chef.
You and I were just talking about you.
That was Harry Shum Jr. I love him.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing you as the Dragon Warrior. I just didn't realize how big a mistake it was. Until now.
Until now. That guy, I love him. His voice is so smooth and silky, it's comical. He knows it.
Yeah.
You'll see.
All I see is a broken...
Mike, was there a version in the earlier pitch that Tai Lung is not back, or Tai Lung is always planned? You have planned for bring him back for the fourth?
We had always planned to bring him back based on nothing except for I just love Tai Lung. I think that was it. And so I think we forced it into happening.
That's great.
In fact, the original writers, Abel and Berger, even it was talked about for like a day, were Poe's on an adventure with Tai Lung, which I think would be hilarious. Which would be so funny.
Yeah.
It would have been pretty cool.
I mean, can you imagine how annoying Poe would be to Tai Lung? Forget about Shifu. That's a great crowds moment, by the way, Sean.
That's so funny. Tom did that. I know we're not supposed to mention this. This was a Monty Python callback, right?
Yes, we can say Monty Python callback, inspired by one of their films based on the Holy Grail. I won't say which one. They're going hut, 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 hut. There's that laugh again.
Is it too spicy?
No, it's got the perfect kick.
See, there's a kick.
That's the secret to my mouth.
This one was tough because, like, can we have Lee and Ping on deck chairs with Mai Tais? I'm like, how do I put that in the Kung Fu Panda world?
Yeah, you're like, what's the ancient fantasy China version of a deck chair and a drink? And I think we cleverly said, why don't you figure that out? And you did.
Yeah.
You did it.
I believe you have something that belongs to me.
Can't you even
Now, Paul, this is a long action sequence between these two, and your environment and lighting really pulled it off, I feel. This is super cool with the red and the Tautier. I love it.
I need from it anyway.
And great animation. Look at her.
I think this was destiny.
Laurent did that one.
A final face-off between...
Like I said, I love it when the voice comes right out of the character's face. And it was so fun with Viola. You guys just nailed it.
Perfect voice for this character.
And same with Poe. It's a perfect voice for Poe, for Jack Black. And it's a perfect voice for Awkwafina and that fox. It's nice.
Sorcery and kung fu make me...
Uni Cho came up with Chameleon's design, and it is so unique and different, but it still fits in the Kung Fu Panda world. It just turned out so interesting, you know?
Yeah.
It does, not to mention it's too bad we can't do costume changes because every costume you designed for the Chameleon, because I remember there's like, at one point
So
on the
many.
big screen you had like 18 dresses and they each was more beautiful than the next. It was stunning.
And so should you.
I'm the chameleon.
We kept with this teal and burgundy look because we found ancient Tautier vases and stuff, and it had that copper look where, you know, when copper has that patina that's like a teal, like a oxidization. It was a really unique, organic way we came up with her color scheme, you know?
That's cool.
Well, I saw that coming.
Look, the little Shifus are back, but it's not really Shifu, Stephanie. It's just in his mind.
I get it.
But
Mike, this was something you had always asked for and wanted, which was a sword and a stone moment.
Yeah. Or a Disney movie about Merlin where he fights a witch at the end.
There's a wizard battle, right?
And then I believe you guys came up with the guy's foot turning into a trunk. Was that?
Yeah,
you
it was
guys or
Philippe.
boards? That was neat. We also, even though Poe's like in trouble, he's still kind of a fanboy shouting out all these moves that he recognizes.
Recognize this move? Is that how I sound? I don't sound like that, do I?
That was a late addition, too, bringing back Lord Shen and Kai.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did that come about? I remember marketing did like a trailer and they kind of promised that they were going to be back in this film, and we're like, what?
I think the fans
They're not in
went
this movie,
crazy. The fans were like, oh my gosh, if Tai Lung's back, what about these other two? And so we're like, yeah, we got to bring them all back.
So good.
It's almost like, yeah, we listened to the fans. I think with the internet now, man, things happen fast. You could really figure out what's going down.
Right.
Workshop those heroic entrances.
Nah, it was just right.
I like that mislead. You think everything's done.
Better to rot in the gutter than under your thumb.
Emotional prop blown into a nose.
Never seen that before.
Yeah. You don't see that with Zuzu's pedals. Look at that pose. Who was that? That was Dan.
Dan Wagner.
Dan Wagner, who was the head of animation on the previous three.
That's right.
Couldn't stay away. Had to come back and be a part of this.
Yep.
This is another insane design by Unicho. Basically, all the masters put together.
Yeah, you guys spent a long time coming up with this. And then I remember your first one was elegant.
Yeah.
And we decided, I think, that we wanted it to be unholy and awkward, right?
Yeah, it's like she has all the weapons, but she's like, when you have everything, you're not elegant anymore.
Yeah.
It's overload, you know?
Excessive.
Yeah.
She's greedy.
I remember we asked the Uni to like simplify it a bit because it's going to be really difficult in modeling and rigging. And then she gave us 10 designs and they were all more complicated.
I'm glad,
more complicated.
I'm glad she stuck to her guns, you know? She's like, how cool this monster is.
Help!
It's just all when you think it's done. Wow, there's another moment here, another surprise.
Our third act has 5 acts.
Yeah.
That's great. That's Jack Black. Had fun doing the evil voice.
We did that a lot in the film too. It was called the Kubrick stare, right?
Yeah.
The character's head is down and their eyes are up and they have a subtle smile. It's really creepy. This was all Ludo.
Yeah. And here's the split screen, my favorite split screen moment.
I love this, what the lighters did here. They just silhouetted these characters against the red. It's really nice.
And then it's our pogo camera.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was actually storyboarded by Trey, animated by Ludo.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth with Josh and Ted and layout, and they did some great stuff.
That's a fun idea to have this big tongue. That was Trey's idea too, right? Punching bag.
Effects did an amazing job here. Just all this destruction.
Yes, Stephanie demanded even more destruction.
Yeah.
I remember. This was a thing too where we were really challenged, guys, where the writer had Poe damaged, like his leg was crushed. And everyone was really disturbed by that. And they're like, we don't want to crush his leg, or he's trapped under a rock or something. And so we just did it where he's trapped in a cage. And then at the very last minute, we decided to make Super Cage, right, Paul?
Yeah. It was like the Chameleon throws all the parts of the broken cages with their magic. They fuse together and it's impossible to get out. It's really cool.
That was kind of a last minute idea, which looks like it was meant to be. I was like, yeah, Poe's in a cage. But then people do ask how he got out, and he got out using Zhen's key from her and her belt. So we don't show that. Plus, there's not a key in that. There wasn't a door, was there? That's a melded cage. He was letting Zhen have her moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that scramble. As
So
you
creepy.
know, Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime she crawls around on all fours, it freaks me out.
This is the very last shot we animated in the film. This is Hans.
Hans did that whole fight.
So good.
First rule is Streets. Never trust anyone.
Ha, you can't defeat me. I know all your moves.
Not this one.
A lot of callback moments going on here, guys.
This is such a successful moment because Zhen really needed to overcome her fear of the chameleon. And so to have her, visually use that staff, call forth that golden chi dragon was really cool to symbolize that she had overcome that. But it's also the moment that Poe is like, hey, there's something in her, this girl.
She's got something.
And hey, you stirred faster and rolled higher.
There's she crawling again.
Last time the word
Look at her.
The horror movie.
Viola goes, oh.
It bonked her on the head.
Viola really gave it up with her efforts. Ugh. This is an interesting moment where it's a heroic moment, but look how it turns evil. Uh-oh. Maybe you shouldn't have freed all the people that you put in the spirit realm. They're closing in.
It's cool because you don't know what's going to happen next. It could go either way.
You aren't completely useless after all.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Great line read.
Do you know what's weird about that line read? That's from Kung Fu Panda 2, and Chris Knights dug it out and found it.
Incredible.
And we put it in as a placeholder because we didn't have Jack during the striking.
That's
We just
right.
kept it. We're like, that's funny. And it got a laugh. Everyone laughed at it. So we're like, let's keep it.
You send us home, and
Oh my gosh, Paul. This represents.
I fought and fought and fought for this. Basically, it's Poe's, good version of what Chameleon did, and it's just using dragons. And now we've basically almost 2 dragon warriors with Zhen and Poe.
And that's going to be Paul Duncan's tombstone.
Yes.
He passes away. We've all invested in it. It's being designed.
Those golden dragons were animated by Liron.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he did the chi moves too. That
He did.
Poe was doing. He kind of owned that.
She also did in the 3rd movie.
Yeah.
Good casting.
see you on the other side. Dragon Warrior.
And you notice Poe and Zhen are standing on a broken statue of Chameleon, just like another movie set in an East Coast city.
Yes.
That people escape from.
So arty. Here's those rice patties. You
Yes,
just mentioning
see?
this, Paul. Look, they're grown.
Yeah, it's patches of time. Hopefully, I get some fan mail. Even just one.
There's that ladder too. Did you see that ladder?
The ladder's back.
The ladder came back.
I had a ladder gag at the start of the movie, and nobody liked it, so it went out.
I liked it, Paul.
Yeah, we can always go back and redo it, guys.
Special edition.
Poe holds a ladder. Never sure.
And there's the completion of the spit take.
Yeah.
Spit take number 3.
You chose the fox? You know when you know. You know? Fine, choose who you want.
Hope that effects added that.
They added a little tea splash.
So funny.
A what?
That was the writer. A stick, a carrot.
Don't worry, he'll come around. Probably. Maybe. Hey, you okay?
He's right. What about...
I keep wondering what the Komodos are going to do now that the Chameleon's gone. Do they get new jobs or something?
They do. They all become tax attorneys. They go to a community college that's in Juniper City.
Yeah.
And they all study accounting.
Nice.
I'm getting the hang of this proverb thing.
Some of them do childcare. There's a small faction that's split off.
Can't buy happiness, but it sure can buy a lot of dumplings.
Why does it always come back to dumplings?
By the way, every one of these proverbs is funny when Jack Black reads them.
Yeah.
Everyone's minds.
We get it.
You can't have your moon.
And I believe this was Lillian helped us with a lot of these as well. Didn't she, Lillian, you?
Mhm.
Can we just start the training now?
It's Mark Reneke's shot. Call back to Poe head floating.
A lot of callbacks. There's no, everything's paid off, right? Did we check every box, Stephanie?
Every box.
Yeah.
Are you tired? It's okay if you meditate with me. No.
Rolling in. That's funny.
Favorite line there is, what is it? You do look like a
I do
squirrel?
look like a squirrel.
You really do look like a squirrel.
Love it.
Lillian, yeah.
There was another one too. What was the other one? I can't remember.
Oh.
Gleam.
The dewy sapling.
Are you ready to begin?
This was great. This was actually Cal.
Just gonna say, it's Cal's idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cal always wanted Tigress to show up, right?
Yeah.
And then once we got Tigress, we were able to get all the Furious Five.
But it took us a long time to listen to Cal. We waited till the last minute. Unfortunately, what gave us the time is, oh my God, Jack had very little time to do this song. Did it with Tenacious D, and it was his idea to do this song. We're all had a list of songs that had some kind of mentioning about hitting or kung fu or something, and he was like, we want to do this one.
How long did it take him from conception until finish? Was it
a week?
Wow.
I think it felt like that, but yeah.
And then it was neat because as they were still working on the song, we sent this to London where we had the Hans Zimmer's orchestra, and they started to put violins to it, to a temp track of this song, and build it even bigger. And there's Seth's voice in it for a moment. Seth Rogen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Hans Zimmer, Steve Mazzaro, and Ryan Rubin were working closely with our editor, Chris Knightsey, and talking with Tenacious D about how to get some of the instrumentation that they had in London to accompany the song, which was really cool.
And they even snuck the theme in. They snuck the Kung Fu Panda theme in, which is interesting. And then Chris Knights, our editor, had to edit that sequence without any music before we knew what the song was.
Right.
We animated handles just in case the shots went a little longer and the beats weren't going to match, so we animated extra for every shot.
Did you change Chris Knights' title into a knife?
Yeah, he's such a prima donna. Yeah,
he badgered you into doing that.
No, Pete Mayonnaise, our amazing art director, is because Chris Knights is a editor, so he does a lot of cuts, so we make it a knife.
That is a funny idea.
That is.
But I'm sad that Chris got his way. That's what
that's the
bothers me
problem.
the most. Yeah, Chris. Well, it's a fun, beautiful credit sequence and a great song.
Yeah, this ties into the Zhen flashback, the same sort of look.
And then if I'm not mistaken, it feels like the Furious Five would be in the next one, right?
It's a setup for the next one?
Yeah.
Hope so.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's all underwater. Is that right?
Yes.
So am I pushing an agenda now? It's all sea creatures and the Furious Five.
A really evil dolphin.
Yeah. Master Dolphin. Dolphins are evil, aren't they?
No.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the commentary. I'm Mike Mitchell, director.
I'm Stephanie Moss-Stine, co-director.
John Sexton, head of character animation.
Calvin San, head of story.
Paul Duncan, production designer.
All very grateful that you guys sat through us talking about this film that we've loved so much and worked so hard on, Kung Fu Panda 4 Shashabooey.
Thank you for watching it.